Hello all, Namaskar, good morning. Welcome you to the SANNIDHAN session. I am really sorry for the delay just because there was a power cut in my area, so that led to this delay. I am really sorry about that. So basically, welcome you again back to this session on SANNIDHAN. Basically, today we are starting with SANNIDHAN. Again, as I had said, the SANNIDHAN means to be near. You must have heard the word. So this is an attempt to go near the mind of the question paper setter of the UPSCs. And who are the most important ones who are very near to the what thing is most nearer to the mind of the question paper setter? It is the previous year questions. So basically, this is an attempt to reach to the mind of the question paper setter via previous year questions for the optional of philosophy. So basically, let's start today. Before starting this session, I want to tell you something that how do we increase marks in philosophy and what are the do's and don'ts. Basically, I have made a video on that, like what helped me increase my marks from 244 to 285 in this attempt. I want you to look into it. Rather than that, apart from that, there are something else that I want to tell you. Number one thing, don't do conjusi or don't hesitate yourself from writing the Sanskrit terms or the scientific terms or the philosophical terms. I'm not telling about the slokas, I'm telling about the terms. Basically, like the terms like the Nairatmyavad, Anekantvad, Syadvad, Ekantvad, Advaitvad, Mayavad, all the vad that you have, like Pudgal, like what is the Panchskand, Rupa, Nam, Rupa, Vedana, Sanya, Prajna, whatever it is there, that Ashtanga. So don't hesitate to write these names. Why? Because assume your name is Akash or your name is Alok. If I will call you by the name Light, would it be okay for you? The meaning is same. Rather than writing Syadvad, you can write the theory of relativity of knowledge. It is the same. But would it be fine for you if I call you Light instead of Akash, Alok? You will not feel good. In a similar way, there is a name for everything. Although we are taking the knowledge part of it, but there is a name for everything, and don't do conjusi with using the Sanskrit terms. They will reward you very good. Number two, this is something that I wanted to, and it is not only related to the Sanskrit term, it is also for the Western terms. Like for example, if you will go to the existential philosophy, there is a term called Dasein. For in Kant, you will see and other things that there are a lot of idealism. One is transcendental idealism, another is absolute idealism, another is subjective idealism. So use of these terms is very much necessary so that you are portraying yourself as a philosophy student. Otherwise, it answers looks like a very generalistic and general student. Now coming to the second part, if you want to increase the marks in philosophy, please address the topic as a wholesome. What is wholesome? Like for example, if something is given to you like immortality of soul, just don't give examples that how the soul is immortal. Rather say what are its implications. Like for example, if a question is given on you, write the immortality of soul and this thing, please write what do you mean by immortality of soul as introduction. Then after that, please write what are the things that are helping you to know that the soul is immortal. It might be the memory part, it might be the deja vus, it might be the near-death experience and all those things. In fact, you can quote it from scriptures, from Bhagavad Gita, Vasansi Jannani Yatha Vihaya Navani Granhati Naruparani Tatha Sariraya Vihaya Nanyati Bhutani Sanjani Dehi. This is something. So, even if you don't know Sanskrit slow, you just write that in Bhagavad Gita it is said the soul is immortal. But after that, please write the counter view. That no, the soul is not immortal. Who says that? Charvak says that. Who says that? What you say? Buddhism says that. Shanikvad says. Nairatmavad says. Anatmavad says. So something, they deny the eternal soul. So this is something you must write the counter arguments. Then write what are the implications of the soul being immortal. And this is the whole of the, you will see the whole of the ritualism, mysticism that is there in Indian culture is due to the immortality of soul. Like after the death, you do the 10 days, 5 days and all those things. We do Asthi Visarjan. We say you go to Swarga and all those things. In fact, the whole concept of the ghost, everything is there due to the immortality of soul. If the soul would not have been immortal, would there have been a ghost? No. This is the thing of the Indian context. So try to see the impact of that. Try to go one step beyond. And this is what shows you have a philosophical outlook. Why? Because philosophy is the science of why. Philosophy is not merely with respect to knowledge, it is more or less with respect to wisdom. How do you portray the knowledge that you have in a more analytical, more subjective, in a more better way, in a more structured, in a more concrete way? So that's why it is very important to write philosophy subject with a sense of with a sense of pragmatism, with a sense of realism. Please write that, approach that By writing what is the relevance of that, in fact, to the present modern society. In fact, what I always say, you are writing this exam for civil services. Don't forget that thing. You might think that this is a philosophy paper. But please remember, this is not the exam of philosophy MA or BA paper. It is the exam of civil services. So at the end, what you are writing, it must be of some way or other used to the nation, to the society, to the people. And that is what which must reflect from your answers. What values are you learning from them? What are the things that are there? So this is something that I wanted to say. And rather than apart from that, please write mostly, it is mostly said, please write it in a paragraph manner. Please don't use much pointers. Diagrams and all those things don't use until unless necessary in paper 1. In paper 2, part 2, that is the social political philosophy, you can do that. But in paper 1, it is mostly paragraph wise, it is said. You can do some diagrams. For example, if a question comes an analogy of cave by Plato, you can do a diagram. If you want to show the relation between natura naturata and natura naturans by Spinoza in substance, you can do a diagram. There is one well-defined diagram over there. If you want to show the relation of the Jiva and the Brahman of the Aprithak Sthiti Sambandh by the Ramanuja, you can do a diagram that is there. But don't overdo it. Don't put 1 or 2 diagrams in each question. There must be very limited things. So these are something that you must know. And wherever if you are writing the Sanskrit slokas, please underline them. And please write the English meaning of them in the bracket. Why I am saying? Because at the end the examiner might not know the meaning. And wherever you are using the Sanskrit terms also, please underline them. Because it is very important that, see, many times if I will ask you, many of us say underlining is not important, and I do feel it is not so important. But one thing is that I cannot undermine the effect of underlining, because assume if you are an examiner, you are checking 20 to 30 copies per day. Would you reach each word of everything, or it is like after 1 or 2 paper, your level of attention will go down, and that is where the role of underlining comes. If your paper comes in the first to the examiner, then there is no point in doing underlining, because he will read each and every word. But if you are in the 4th or 5th or 10th or 15th in the list of checking of that day, then underlining will play an important role. So that's why in philosophy also, wherever you feel you can do underlining and all those things, please do this. So this is something that I wanted to say. And other things like interlinkages of the paper and all those things, we have dealt it in a separate video. Please watch that. I have made a video how I increased my marks by, in fact, a 41 marks increase from the last attempt to this attempt. Now let us go to the questions that we wanted to discuss today, and let us start the series of Sannidhan. This was just a opener, and there is one more thing that I want to say just before you start. Basically, see, I am not in touch with philosophy since a long time. I know the basics, I know the concepts, but many times there are some terms that I cannot remember now. I am trying to do all that I can do, and in fact I am referring to some of the books. But you might be knowing that I may not remember everything now in one go. And in fact, I may not remember everything. Otherwise, I would have scored 350 marks out of 500. So that is the reason I will just say what are the approach. How can you write the answers? How can you structure the answers? If there is any, if there is any mistake on my end, if there is something that I forgot that is very important, please pardon me, and you can add that by your own. But I am trying to do whatever is possible on my end, whatever I may remember, and how I did write the exam answers in the real exam conditions. I will discuss in the same way, and I will try to tell you how can we think of the question. For example, a question comes, how do you brainstorm on that? How do you think what I will write the next? And this is what we will discuss. Let us make it a very interactive type session. Okay, fine. So let us start. Number one question, we are discussing Indian philosophy, and I must say again, Indian philosophy we will be discussing in this order. Mostly we will finish Indian philosophy of last 5 years at a time. In the next coming 5 to 10 days, we will complete Indian philosophy of all the questions of last 5 years. Then we will move to paper 2. I am not going to Western, because Western is something that is more, I feel it is more tricky, and it is more intellectually engaging. It has no mysticism type of thing. So better if you will keep it in the last. So after Indian, we will go to maybe philosophy of religion, then socio-political, and at the end, towards near the exam of the mains, we will discuss the Western philosophy. Because by the time you will be very clear. Because there are no such confusions in Indian or any other thing. Sorry again, the power cut has happened, but I feel you can see me. I cannot do anything. Just a minute. I will just increase the brightness of the screen. I don't know. I'm really sorry. I'm really sorry. I cannot do anything with this, and I'm just trying to do whatever is possible. Just a minute. We will start. Okay. Just a minute. I'm seeing if there is any. Okay. Is it fine now? Oh, perfect. Okay. So this is like the bhoot thing, but we will discuss. Okay. Let these things doesn't disturb us. Now coming to the first question. Okay. Now coming to the first question, that does the seed contain the tree? Does the seed contain the tree? And as per discuss with reference to Nyaya Vaisesik philosophy. Now, when you are discussing it with respect to Nyaya Vaisesik philosophy, and the question comes, does the seed contain the tree? The first thing that must strike to you, it is asking about the theory of causation. Okay, and it is the theory of causation. And what you will write? You write that this theory of causation is asatkaryavad. It is arambhavad. In fact, if it would have been Samkhya, they would have said that yes, the seed contains the tree. But as it is Nyaya Vaisesik, the seed does not contain the tree because tree is a new beginning. Are you able to understand? Because the moment you see the question, you must be knowing that this is a question of Satkaryavad and Asatkaryavad theory of causation. And now you know that you have to write mostly about Asatkaryavad theory of causation. And they are asking specific to Nyaya Vaisesik philosophy. Asatkaryavad there have been other schools also. So, but it is asking with respect to Nyaya Vaisesik. And Nyaya Vaisesik says it is Nitya Parmanu Karanvad or Parmanu Karanvad. It is the school of atomicism. So now again here we are discussing does the seed contain the tree? How you will start? And it is a 10 marker question. Are you able to go? Please go to the question paper of CSE 2021, Civil Services Exam 2021, Philosophy Optional, and please go to the section B, question number 5A we are discussing. Okay. Now, does the seed contain the tree? How do you start it? You say you can directly start because it is a 10 marker question and you will be getting only 2 papers to write, 2 pages to write. So don't beat around the bush, directly go to the point. In fact, you can start that as per the causation theory of the Nyaya Vaisesik, the seed does not contain the tree. In fact, you can start it with like this, or you can say that you can describe what is Nyaya Vaisesik school. You can say Nyaya Vaisesik school is a school of logic, epistemology, and all those things, and then you can write. In fact, you can directly start that as per the, or you can write to make it a much more meaningful and beautiful. You can say as the Nyaya Vaisesik school of philosophy believes in Asatkaryavad of school of thought, and it specifically believes on Nitya Parmanu Karanvad or the Arambhavad, that's why in the opinion of Nyaya Vaisesik, the seed does not contain the tree. You can write this. It is 2 to 3 lines, and it is one of the very perfect introduction because you are here telling what is Asatkaryavad, Arambhavad. You are using the terms Nitya Parmanu Karanvad. There are 3 Sanskrit terms in that, and you are describing it is the seed does not contain the tree. Then it is saying that discuss the same with respect to Nyaya Vaisesik school. So we know what the Nyaya Vaisesik school say. We have all the proofs of Asatkaryavad, and in fact, if you don't have the proofs of Asatkaryavad, please see the criticisms of Satkaryavad of Samkhya, because in Samkhya it is very beautifully described by Sankhya's Ishwar. Ishwar Krishna is described in Samkhya Karika, like Upadana Grahanat, Sarva Sambhav Bhavat, Saktasya Sakta Karanat, Karan Bhavat. So, and Asat Karna. These are the 5 proofs of Satkaryavad. And you will see there are 4 to 5 criticisms of them, and they are mostly from the Nyaya Vaisesik. Like, for example, if the effect is already there in the cause, why there is a need of efficient cause? So, you write here, your body part should contain those criticisms, and that must be in the form of seed entry. Because they could have asked, does the milk contain the curd? But they asked, does the seed contain the tree? So, they want you to use these terms. So, please write number 1 point. Does the seed contain the tree? You have introduced it. Now you are going to the body and you are writing point by point format or in paragraph by paragraph format that the seed does not contain the tree. Start by writing that if the seed contained the tree, then what was the need for an efficient cause? If the seed contained the tree, then why we call the seed and tree by different names? Okay. This is one thing. So that is there. So you are writing this thing. So the seed does not contain the tree. Then you go the criticism part. You write the Satkaryavad theory, and again you have the proofs what is there, why the seed contains the tree, and then you go to again are there any other schools of Satkaryavad or like that? You can say yes, there are other schools, and you can also mention some of the other schools of Satkaryavad, and you can directly then conclude that these are the different schools of philosophy which portray the other things. So in this way, sorry, is it okay now? Is it okay now? Hello? Is it okay now? Hello? Hi. Is it okay now? Can anyone comment? Yes. Okay. Okay. So now, like, if you are not able to hear the voice properly, please tell me. Else, we will shift it at any other time. So basically, now we have discussed the first question. So you understood the way in which we are writing the question. First, describe what is asatkaryavad, and you can directly go to the topic that seed does not contain the tree. Then give the proofs why the seed does not contain the trees, and then say that it is not the whole thing. There is another school, there is another thought, that is the satkaryavad, which says that the seed contains the tree. Write both the arguments, and then conclude it. And in fact, you can say, you can conclude it by writing that both the things are what you say. At the end, both the things have been complied down by Shankaracharya in his what you say at the end. It is Brahma Vivavartavad, which is a part of Satkaryavad, but it tries to address everything. Because at the end, you see, in the Indian philosophy, at most of the conclusions, Shankaracharya will comes because he makes everything consistent. And in Western, in most of the schools, either you will bring Kant into the picture by the faith and the concept, percept, and all those things. And another thing is that you will bring another one, that is the Wittgenstein, into the purpose, so that you will say that everything will be resolved in faith. So this is number one question. Now number two question: explain with reference to Nyaya philosophy the nature of Sabda as the advice of Apta Purusha. You might be knowing that Sabda is of two types. One is Vaidika, another is Laukika. What is Vaidika? Vaidika is the art of the Vedas, and Laukika is the secular ones, that is by the Apta Purushas, the reliable persons. So here they are asking with respect to, because you will see that the Sabda is of again described in two ways. One is in the Nyaya, another is in the Mimamsa. In Mimamsa, you will get that Avinityavad and Anvitanyavad. But in Nyaya, it is mostly not there. So in Nyaya, it is a very short thing and very easy to remember thing. There are four parts, that is the Akanksha, Yogyata, Sannidhyan, Tatparya. You must be knowing them. So it is asking these things only, and that is the Drishtarth and Adrishtarth Sabda. Drishtarth is what can be seen, and Adrishtarth is like the good things, like the honesty is the best policy, which cannot be seen, but they are the value system. So something like that. So they are asking Nyaya Vaisheshik, and that is the Apta Purusha. So basically start writing that Nyaya Vaisheshik accepts Sabda as a Praman, and it accepts Laukika and Vaidika Sabda as this thing. So again you say the Apta Purusha or the Laukika Sabda is one of which thing that is accepted by Nyaya, and you say it is said by the persons who have very high trust. And they are the persons, they are the what you say, they have very high what the knowledge of this philosophy and all, and then only we are accepting them. And then you write what is Sabda, write four parts of the Sabda: Akanksha, Yogyata, Sannidhyan, Tatparya, Drishtarth, Adrishtarth also. Then you write the criticism. Who will come in the criticism? Charvak will come in the criticism. They have denied accepting Sabda as the Praman. There are other schools also, there are one or two other schools who don't believe on Sabda as an independent Praman. So please quote them and directly write it at the end. So in fact, I will ask you to link it with the modern thing. For example, if you will not believe in Sabda in the modern thing, if you will not what we are trying to believe, many of the talks of the scientists we are believing as such. So we are also believing science, the modern way, is in fact believing the words of the reliable person, and they are doing the research in that. So you can say in the modern scientific world also, the Sabda has a relevance due to the words of the political leaders, of the scientists and all those things. Please mention it very shortly in the conclusion if you feel, and if you are making it organically. If not, then directly conclude with any of the Indian thing. Okay, fine. Then the next thing is inseparability, ayuta siddhatva, a necessary condition or a sufficient condition for defining characteristics, lakshana of some way, inherence, explained with reference to Vaisheshika philosophy. Just a minute. Now you must be knowing. Okay, just a minute. I don't know why these power cuts are happening. We are aspiring to be one of the leader of the world, and now these things are there. Okay, so Ayuta Siddhatva. You must be knowing there are two terms. One is Yuta Siddhatva and another is Ayuta Siddhatva. Ayuta Siddhatva is inseparable relation. That means, for example, and I'll tell you before that what is Yuta Siddhatva. Yuta Siddhatva is separable relation. For example, if me and you come together and we are separating apart, we are in the relation of Yuta Siddhatva because we are coming together and moving apart. But in this shirt, this thread If the thread will go out of this shirt, the shirt will not remain a shirt. They are in the relation of ayuta siddhatva. For example, if my bones, my muscles will go away, will I remain to be the Durga Prasad? It is not. I will not be there. So it is the relation between the object and its parts, whole and its parts. It is ayuta siddha. It is what? It is something like the inseparable relation, like which cannot be separated by time and space. If one is separated, then the other will go away. So what is samvaya? Samvaya is a classification, is a type, is a padarth, if you will know, of the Vaisheshik school. It is a category of the Vaisheshik school. In fact, it is one of the independent category of the Vaisheshik school. And they say samvaya has the necessary eternal and inseparable relation, and that is ayuta siddhatva, between two things. If it is yuta siddhatva, because it is separable and they are going apart, it is samyoga. It is a quality. It is not something independent category, but samvaya is an independent category. So here it is asking whether it is a necessary and sufficient condition. Now we must understand what is necessary and sufficient condition. For example, for a fire to happen, can you make a fire without oxygen? You cannot make a fire without oxygen. So oxygen is a necessary condition for fire. But is oxygen a sufficient condition for fire? If there is oxygen, will there be fire? No. You need some fuel to burn. You need some, there is a need of fuel to burn. So that is something that, and there is a need for ignition. Because the oxygen will be there, the fuel would be there, but it will not burn until unless you put a fire to it, a ignition to it. So all these things, independently, each thing is necessary, but it is not sufficient. What is the sufficient condition? When all the three will come. Now it is asking, is ayuta siddhatva a necessary and sufficient condition for samvaya? We are all knowing that it is a necessary condition. Because without ayuta siddhatva, samvaya cannot happen. Because ayuta siddhatva says it is an inseparable relation. It is from the Vaisheshik school. But is it necessary? And there is difference of opinion with respect to that. Mostly many say it is not sufficient and many say it is sufficient. So you need to make your answers very diplomatically. In fact, you can write that it is a necessary condition, but don't outrightly deny that it is not sufficient. Because many times you see, many say that ayuta siddhatva is just inseparable relation, and when it becomes eternal, then only it becomes samvaya. But many in the scriptures you will find that many say that ayuta siddhatva is also inseparable and eternal relation. Because if you are separating them, then it is again going down, you are taking them to yuta siddhatva. So ayuta siddhatva, many say it is also again eternal. So how do you reconcile them? So there is no one way. In many opinions, it is both necessary and sufficient. In many, they say they don't. Many say they go on to the argument that ayuta siddhatva is only a relation. Samvaya is also a type of relation. But for them to be there, there must be two objects and two bodies. So these are all very baseless arguments. Like for example, and we cannot know what is the correct thing and correct or not. For example, with respect to writing. So it is, you can write it that you, at this question you can start that what is samvaya. You can start writing that samvaya is a padarth or a category in the school of Vaisheshika, which means eternal inseparable relation between two bodies. In fact, it is the external inseparable relation. Why? There is an internal inseparable relation. Who brings it? He brings the Ramanuja. Aprithak sthiti sambandh. He criticizes samvaya. He says that samvaya is something that is external, but the inseparable one is internal. And he says aprithak sthiti sambandh. So this is something you will write that it is the external thing. And then you write that what is ayuta siddhatva. It is not ayuta, it is ayuta. Ayuta siddhatva. You say it is also something that when the two bodies cannot be separated. Give the example, part and the whole, body and the quality, and the action and the doer. So these things. And then you say it is a necessary condition. And there are, and on many occasions it is also the sufficient. You can write in this way. And then you can write that there are some criticisms to it. How? Shankaracharya says that samvaya cannot be considered, that ayuta siddhatva along with samvaya cannot be considered as an independent category because they both are relations. How do you make it? In fact, you can again bring Ramanuja into the picture by writing the criticism. The aprithak sthiti sambandh, Ramanuja criticizes samvaya, and this way you can write your answer completely. Now there is another thing, that is distinguish between Pudgala Nairatmavad and Dharma Nairatmavad with respect to Buddhist philosophy. For this one, the word Nairatmavad given, you must be very aware that this is from the Buddhist philosophy. And now here we have a confusion. We don't know it. How do we write it? Because many other candidates faced it. So in Buddhist terms, Pudgala means many complied with the jiva, the self. What exactly Pudgala? I am telling you. Pudgala is something which is those tendencies which are forcing me to take another life. You know that in Buddhism it is said, Asmin sati idam bhavati, asmin asati idam na bhavati. There is an effect only when there is a cause. For every cause there is an effect. So, for example, there are some certain tendencies, my karmic impressions, which are forcing me to take another life after this death. So, what this is what is said the Pudgal. Those are those tendencies and all those things which are forcing me to take another life, and many say it is the conscious living being, it is the self. So it is say, though now you are understanding the term what is Pudgala Nairatmavad. Pudgala Nairatmavad is the denying of an soulful existence of this conscious living body. You are denying the soulful existence of Pudgala. And there is another term, that is the Dharma Nairatmavad. What is Dharma Nairatmavad? Here indeed the Buddhism uses the term dharma for mostly material objects, for mostly the things that we see, mostly the things that are there around us. It says that those things are also false. They don't have any Atma. They don't have, they are Nairatmavad. So we understand that Pudgala is for mostly this Jiva part and Dharma is for the material part. Now comes the implication part. This is the most important part because they have asked you to distinguish. But after distinguishing while writing, you must know that Pudgala is something who is the object, who is not the object, who is the subject, who is the doer. And Dharma is the object. It is the subject who is enjoying the object. Now again here that comes, why do they have this Nairatmavad? I am telling you, because you can use this in other answers of Buddhism. Basically, you know that Buddhism says that Sarvam Dukkham, Chatvari Arya Satyani, the four noble truths. The first one says the life is full of suffering. Chatvari Arya Satyani. And if you are saying that Sarvam Dukkham, so there must be a way to come out of that Dukkha. And how do you come out of Dukkha? When you know that everything is unreal. If assume that this life is real, for example, and the highest position we know is of just a minute, be there. I'm seeing someone has sent any review or not. Just a minute. Okay. So, for example, one thing that if you say that this life is real and assume that IAS is moksha for every one of us. Assume in this lifetime, if I will not get IAS, then I will feel that my life is a waste. So how I can know that? How? Because this is a desire, and desire is the root cause of suffering. And Buddha says, leave aside all the desires, go beyond the desires. Pragya, Sil, Samadhi, Ashtangika Marga, you must be knowing. So it is a way in Pudgala Nairatmavad and his Dharma Nairatmavad. Buddha says that, my dear, please listen, this subject is false and the object is false. The subject does not have a soul and the object does not have a soul. So why do you desire? It is not you who has everything. You are not having an eternal existence, and nor these objects which are there around you, they have an eternal existence. There is Pudgala Nairatmavad, there is Dharma Nairatmavad. So why are you trying to get all those things? It is a way to end the desires. This is the implication of it. Are you clear? Are you getting what I am saying? And there is another thing. In Pudgala Nairatmavad, it is said there is a Klesha Avarana. It must be removed so that we will get the liberation. What is Klesha? Klesha is the pain, suffering, and our attachment to it. The moment it is removed from the jivas, you know the real truth, the bodhi, and you attain it. And in Dharma Nairatmavad, there is Klesha Avarana and there is Jnaya Avarana. Jnaya, Jneya. What? You must know the real thing of the object. You must know the reality of the object. Mostly this Pudgal Nairatmavad is the Hinayan Buddhism, and this is with the Mahayan Buddhism. So I feel you are able to understand it. Okay, so this is what you have to write. So start with writing that. You can directly start with writing Nairatmavad or Anattavad or Anatmavad is a philosophy of Buddhism which says about this thing. You know the thing. And then directly come the difference part. What is Pudgal Nairatmavad? What is Dharma Nairatmavad? And please write about them. And please write the implication of them at the end and conclude it. This is something. Now let us go to the 5C question. Comment on the bearing of Charvak epistemology on rejection of transcendental entities by them. So now here I will ask you, what are all the transcendental entities? Transcendental entities are the things which doesn't belong to this world, which you cannot perceive, which you cannot know. So let us first see what are all the transcendental entities, and then we will frame our answers. What is the transcendental? Heaven is a transcendental entity. Yes. Moksha is a transcendental entity. God is a transcendental entity. This Adrashta, the one which controls the theory of karma and all, this is a transcendental entity. Yes. The Akasa is a transcendental entity. The Dharma is a transcendental entity. And these are all. The soul is a transcendental entity. The eternal living soul. So it is asking, what does Charvak say about this? The Charvak epistemology, you must be knowing that Pratyakshameva Mekam Pramanam, they only believe perception is the only Praman. So if they believe perception is the only Praman, they will reject everything that they cannot perceive. And they reject inference, testimony, and the Upaman, comparison. And in this way, they are going to reject all the transcendental entities. Because can you see God? Can you perceive God? No. Can you see dharma, perceive dharma? No. Can you see, perceive moksha? No. And there is a very beautiful articles on that, very beautiful thing on that in all the notes. Please write them, and you can at the end say, you can compare it with what? Logical positivism. You can compare it with Hume. So somewhere you can write about all those things. Okay. Wherein you are rejecting all that you cannot perceive. You reject everything that you cannot see. There is no heaven. They what they say? Sukhameva swargaha, dukhameva narka, maranameva apavargaha. Blissful life here is heaven. There is no heaven out there. There is no soul out there. There is no God out there. There is no moksha out there. There is no dharma out there. There is no akasha out there. So these are all, there is no adrashta out there. So this is all that is there. And you can write this. And again, after writing this, you can write the criticism part. Who criticizes? Nyaya criticizes, because inference it is mostly, because while they are refuting inference, they are refuting around 90% of the things. Because how do I infer that there is an afterlife? Because I have a life. Something like that. So by refuting inference, they are refuting all these things. So there are criticisms from Nyaya. There are also criticisms from other schools like the Buddhist and Jainas. Please write 1 or 2 criticisms and conclude. Now 6a. With reference to yoga philosophy, the nature of kleshas, how does the removal leads to klesha? It is a very direct question, no need, and it has 3 pages. So you can do some extra writing over here. Please write what is yoga school. Yoga school, you can write the school of this thing and that thing. It is a samanantara of Sankhya. Samanantara means it is a similar school to that of Sankhya, because it accepts it accepts many things from the Sankhya, and you can write okay. Then you directly come to kleshas, because after writing the introduction for 1 or 2 lines, directly come to kleshas and write what exactly are kleshas. Kleshas are the okay, just a minute. Can you use the argument of theologian to criticize Charvak? Because rejecting of God will not fulfill devotees of emotional needs. Yes, you can write that. You can write that. But basically, what you say, basically, what is the thing? It will not have space, because it is 10 mark question and you will only get 2 pages. So mostly, see, the thing is that Charvak is not rejecting God because it is fulfilling emotions. Why Charvak is rejecting God? Charvak is rejecting God because it cannot be perceived. So the arguments against that must also be that many things that cannot be perceived there still exist. So there are arguments of Nyaya and Vaiseshika. If it would have been 15 marker 3 pages, I would have definitely asked you to write. But in 10 marks, if there is space, you can write. In fact, it is a case of interlinkages of paper 1 and paper 2. You can do that. But it must not be done overtly. It must not be done very highly, because there is everything in paper 1 which can be linked with paper 2 and vice versa. But don't do extra do. Okay. Yes, with respect to yoga philosophy, the nature of kleshas and all those things, this is a very direct question. Please introduce yoga. Please write klesha. What are the klesha? Klesha are the pain and suffering, avidya, asmita, and all those things we have, avinivesha and ragadvesha. These are the panch kleshas. Please write how do the klesha is formed due to the mental modifications, chitta vritti. What is the chitta vritti? Please mention what are the chitta vrittis. How do chitta vritti happen? Then you write again. It is asking how does the removal of this lead to yoga? The whole school of yoga is about that chitta vritti nirodha yoga. Please write this quote, because this is important. This is a very important shloka. Chitta vritti nirodha yoga, and you have to go to the Ashtang mark, Ashtang Yoga, and Ashtang Yoga. Please write something about many things, and the final part must be samadhi, because in the samadhi only all the kleshas go and you attain kaivalya. And please write what are the types of kaivalya? Are there any sayogi and ayogi type kaivalya? It is there, the sasarira and without the sarira. So this thing you can mention. So please write, it must be like an analysis part. Please mention what is klesha, how it is formed, and it is asking what is the nature of klesha. The nature of klesha is that it keeps the Purusha in bondage. It keeps the Purusha in bondage, and just by its own actions, Purusha is creating more klesha and it is getting more into bondage. It is not leaving you outside the bondage, because the moment you have raga, the moment you have dvesha, you are getting attached with something. Even the instinctive fear of death is making you more a mortal man, and you are more getting loving to yourself. So this is the nature of klesha. In fact, if you will ask, there is one thing, that is a jnana varnya. Don't use this term, because in Jainism you have seen that in Ghatya and Agatya karma there is something like jnana varnya. It shadows all the reality of knowledge. Don't use this term. I am just telling you. It is of similar nature. So the moment you remove klesha, there is a mental modifications are stopped, the phenomenal ego stops attaching itself with the reflection in the Mahat. Here the word Mahat is important. Mahat what saying? Here the word Chitta is important. They don't write that the reflection is in Mahat. The reflection is in Mahat is from the Sankhya philosophy. Here write the reflection is in Chitta because it's the yoga philosophy. So these are subtle things. If you will write Mahat instead of Chitta, then you will lose marks, because the whole of the yoga philosophy is based that the reflection is based on Chitta and not on Mahat. So this is important, and you can write it. This is very important, very cool. And at the end, you can conclude. You can try to link it with the modern thing, the current thing. In fact, the yoga has been very instrumental tools to free the man from all these bondages, and it has gained a lot of popularity. This thing, that thing, you can write. Now 6b, explain the view, Sankhya view on Triguna Gunatraya and their modification. Again, yes, see, Rishabh you can directly start introducing in the body the klesha, or in the introduction, or in the body, because basically it is a 15-marker question. So you can start 1 or 2 lines about yoga, that is fine, because in 10 markers you directly start. In 15 markers you have some leverage because you will have 3 pages. But if you have enough content about klesha and all those things, please directly you can start with klesha. But while writing the introduction, make it a very heavy piece. Use the terms like klesha is something, this thing in the philosophical school of yoga, which is a school of this thing, that thing, and the samanantara of yoga. Make it a heavy type of thing. Oh, it is 20 marker. Oh, it is 20 marker. Sorry, it is 20 marker. Then you can do it. Then you can write about yoga also 1 or 2 lines. Not at all an issue, because in fact here in 20 pages also you will get 3 pages. 20 markers also you are getting 3 pages. Okay, so that is that. Now explain the Sankhya view on Trigunas or Gunatraya and the modification. It is again a direct question. Please write what is Guna. In fact, you can start it with writing that Sankhya is a school of dualistic realism with Prakriti as a Trigunatmak component, in bracket Sat Rajtam, of the ultimate reality, the other being Purusha. So see here in one line we have included everything. We wrote what is a Sankhya. Sankhya is a dualistic school. What are its components? We wrote Prakriti and Purusha. What is Prakriti? It is Trigunatma, and it is asking Gunatraya. So herein you are introducing Triguna over there, Satrastam, and directly go to Gunatraya. It is asking that Sankhya view on the Gunatraya. So in as it is asking on Sankhya view in Gunatraya, please write something about Sattva, Raja and Tam, their color, their comparison, that we have seen that the oil, flame and the wick, they are all 3 different of different natures, but they come together for the purpose of producing light. So in similar way, these 3 gunas are of different nature, but they come together. Please write something about each of the component, and it is asking their modifications. Now it is asking about the theory of evolution. Please write about the Visamavastha, Pralayavastha and all those things. Please write the homogeneous what to say this thing. In fact, here you can bring the word of Prakriti Parinamvad. This is the theory of causation, because it is asking the causation. Because what exactly is modification? When the modification happens, the evolution happens, because the gunanam traya, the traya gunas are getting disturbed, and the moment they are disturbed, the homogeneous composition changes into heterogeneous composition. The whole of the world is formed. I had said you a sloka there. Madhya Devi Prat Pravagati Ja Prakriti Rupinim. It is the whole of the world. Whole of the world is Prakriti Rupinim. The Prakriti Rupinim. Nirlipta Gupta Deha. It is imperceptible. Sukma Rupa, it is subtle. So something about that. And who brings this subtleness? And there are some analogies that you can use, like the 3 ropes intermingling with themselves, and they form a one single strand. So this is the Prakriti, and the 3 ropes are Sattva, Raja, Tamogun. And please mention adequately about Gunatraya, their qualities, their compositions, how they interact with each other. Then directly come to what are their modifications. And here you have to see the homogeneous heterogeneous changes, the theory of evolution, how the Prakriti and Purusha comes together. And in fact, I don't feel there would be much thing like how do they come together, like the semblance and all those things. It might be very high-handed to write all those things, but please write Kaivalyartham, Darshanartham, and then you can say how they will get separated, and the right knowledge, the Viveka Khyati, and then conclude. So this is a very, and again at the end you can write, this is a very scientific level of evolution technology, and this must be praised because they have tried to explain it without the help of God. Okay, so this is fine. Now what according to Mimamsakas is the ontological status of Abhav, and how does one know it and explain it in exam. So in Mimamsakas you must be knowing it is only the Kumarla Bhatta who is accepting Anupalabdhi as a Praman. And Anupalabdhi is a what? It will give you Abhava Gyan, the Gyan about absence. Prabhakar does not accept it. He says his own argument. So again, basically, this is a direct question. You have ready-made content on that. So ontological thing, because the above thing you will find in Nyaya Vaisesik and also in Mimamsa, and there are some subtle changes. And in fact, in this one, there is standard content. How Prabhakar and Kumarla Bhatta differ on each other, and how do they say there is a difference in abhav, how one accepts and the another is not accepting. So ontological status, you will see that Anupalabdhi, which gives abhav jnana, in fact, abhava has been accepted by Kumarla Bhatta as an independent thing. But however, Prabhakar denies it. And there are standard examples, like a jar is there on the ground. When you see the ground is empty, you don't perceive the jar and all those things. There is very standard content. Please write and conclude. So this is something, and this is ontological status. In fact, if you want, you can write the implication of that, and which is also there. So that is there, and that's all that is there. That's all that I wanted to discuss today. Okay, so we have discussed this thing. Okay, just a minute. Okay, so that's all that I wanted to discuss today. So we have discussed this 8 questions. So I feel, is it helping you, or are you expecting something else from me? Because I wanted to discuss in this manner. I am giving you some knowledge. I am telling you how to write the answers, and there are other interlinkages. Okay, so in this way, please try to see how you can make the answer. Just a minute. These are another type of tension. There are 3 types of pain: Adhidaivik, Adhibhautik, and Adhyatmik in Samkhya. I don't know what I will, in what category I will put this pain of having the power cut. Okay, so this is something. Maybe this would be Adhibhautik pain. So please try to link in this way. Don't put this in exam, but the moment you appreciate all those things, you will already link. So this is the way. So that's all that I wanted to say. We will come again tomorrow, hopefully along with the power, current, electricity, and we will discuss again something more. Okay, I feel if there is any more changes that you want to do, please do tell me, and we will incorporate that. But I wanted to keep the discussion like this only, so that you please listen to it and try to imbibe, try to recollect what all you have learned. And if there is anything that has happened by mistake, by me, by slip of tongue, please do inform me. Okay, that's all that I wanted to discuss. Take care, stay happy, and we will meet again in the night on the Ayodhya session. Okay, thank you. Namaste. Bye bye. I'm ending the session. Okay.